Well, after the end of that Battle of Alberta, I would say it is officially baseball season. For me, anyways. Now it's time to truly concentrate on what matters, which is the Toronto Blue Jays.
Get your golfing clubs out and join those AAA Buffalo Bison on the golf course, my friend. I'd love to go with you. I
Yeah, the
can't.
Flames tea
I'm
times.
I'm too busy watching Oilers games for the rest of the year. So
Yeah,
it is what
right.
it is.
Your team.
I see you've got the orange and blue Oilers colors on your hat this evening or this morning, I should say.
Teal, it most certainly is not Oilers
Yeah,
colors.
go
I
Oilers.
do
You're
not like
welcome on
that
the
team.
bandwagon,
Yeah,
Scott. Welcome.
yeah,
Welcome,
yeah.
my friend.
Over my dead body.
All right. Shall we talk ball, though?
Yes, we will do exactly that. Terrible end of that Flames game. Terrible end of that season. But we will move on.
It was a kicking motion. I mean, what can you say? It was, if you're going to cheat, you're going to
Oh,
get caught from time to time. So,
yes.
all right.
Okay, we're going to get into it here. Welcome, everybody, to the Walk-Off. I'm Scott Belford, joined, as always, by the best co-host in the biz. Terrible choice in hockey teams, but there he is, Adam Mack. We had some awesome interviews this week. We had a couple of them, But Matt Gage
Yeah.
of the Buffalo Bison, number one. This is a lefty pitcher who's kicked around the minor leagues for about the last, since 2014, I think is when he was drafted. 28 years old. He did some mechanical adjustments when he was playing in Mexico in 2019. He'd already he had exited affiliate baseball. So he's down pitching, trying to find his career in Mexico. Shortened up his arm slot, kind of found his fastball. And man, he very well could be the next lefty called up out of this Toronto Blue Jays bullpen.
What's the name of the eastbound and down? What was that pitcher? Kenny Powers.
Yes, Danny McBride. Yes,
Kenny
Powers. There you
down
go.
to Mexico, trying to find it. He found it. He's got it working this year.
Yeah, he really does. He's got a whip of 0.85 in the back end of that Bison's bullpen. He's got 5 saves already, an ERA of .69 or something like that. Like, this literally is a guy that we probably will see in the Blue Jays bullpen if there are any bad tacos to another lefty pitcher, right? Like, we've already got Tim Mays on the shelf. Vasquez is hit and miss. If Baraki continues to struggle, who knows? We could literally see him within a week or two. You don't know, right? So we're going to release that. Tomorrow is when we were going to release it, Adam, or what do you think?
Yeah, we do tomorrow. We're figuring out what would be better tomorrow or Monday, and neither of us have any idea what we're doing, so we're just going to do tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. So tomorrow for Matt Gage, Buffalo Bison bullpen piece that we'll probably wind up seeing on the Blue Jays. He was great to talk to. Sat down with us for about 45 minutes. We also chatted with Arden Zwelling on Wednesday. We released that yesterday. Still some really good stuff in there. I know it's a couple days old now, but you'll just have to fill in the blanks that we actually did win that first game against Anaheim. But it's a great... Like, he sat with us for an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, got to a lot of listener questions, and
That's up on YouTube right now. You can check that out, of course, under the Full Conversations bar. That's up on our audio side as well. Thank you so much, everybody who does hit the subscribe button, the like button. That means a lot on YouTube. Same thing for any ratings you give us wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. Of course, Discord is where most of our tomfoolery goes amongst all the Walk Off listeners. About 150 pretty rabid Jays fans in that group. You can join that by clicking the link in the show notes, and that is free. Before we get into the...
I was just going to say, what's not free? Supporting us on Patreon.
Seamless.
We do have a few new Patreon subscribers, so appreciate everybody supporting us there. We're up to 10 now, Scott. That's a big
double
deal.
Digits.
That's a literal milestone. So big shout outs to Ian, Jeremy, Joshua, Rashid, Simon, John, Sarah, Michael, Avraham and David Cook. So David dropped a pretty sweet little roast in the Discord too after he joined the Patreon. He said, "I can't wait to watch A League of Their Own movie review now that I've finally become a Patreon member." So for anybody new here, the League of Their Own movie review has infamously been deleted and lost
the lost
to time,
files, if you will. Yes.
So. Speaking of
Okay.
Patreon, though, $4 a month gets us movie reviews. We do them mostly monthly. Behind the scenes and pre-show we do as well. So if you want to see Scott and I talking about the Oilers Flames game from last night, we kind of got into it a little bit before the show today. Bull Durham, Mr. Baseball, Major League, A League of Their Own, Lost to Time. Moneyball we most recently did, and now this week Scott and I are going to be reviewing
Field of Dreams.
So, should we
we had planned this before, rest in peace, Ray Liotta passed away, but of course he plays Shoeless Joe Jackson in Field of Dreams.
So that'll be up in the next probably week or two for that one. But yeah, that's all there is for Patreon news. So thanks to everybody for supporting us there. And yeah, you want to get in a ball?
Buddy, we've got a big show here. 14 runs the last two games. The Blue Jays are finally starting to see the mojo in the bats. Are the home runs back? Seeing more long balls out of the Blue Jays. This team's schedule approaching the juicy point of the season. So we'll kind of talk the last three games in Anaheim and where the Blue Jays go from here. Since returning from injury, Hyun-Jin Ryu, he has bent, but he has not broke. He is looking much better than he started the season, so we'll talk how he's doing. High leverage innings. I did want to get into the back end of this bullpen and just how comfortable, Adam, you are with Romano, Meza, Garcia, and the gang. So we'll kind of rate those guys and see where we're at and maybe talk bolstering of the bullpen. Kevin Smith versus Matt Chapman. Yes, former Blue Jay Kevin Smith has been playing full-time third base with the Oakland Athletics. We'll go over those two's numbers and see where they're at and do a quick check-in on Kirby Snead and Zach Logue, former Toronto Blue Jays. Cavin Biggio returned to the lineup yesterday. Sad news for Vinny Capra, but I think watching Biggio back on the Blue Jays roster, I'm all right with it. If it takes the bat out of Bradley Zimmer's hand a little more, I'm all for it. So we'll talk Cavin. And we'll get into the weirdness that is the Anaheim Stadium fiasco. I don't know if you've heard about this, Adam, but it's kind of like a crime drama going on right now in Anaheim. So that's how we'll end the show.
All right.
Let's get into this Blue Jays Angels series. I mean, all the talk has been Shohei versus Vladdy, and it did not disappoint yesterday.
No, it was a good start to the series. I'm still skeptical that we're going to win any extra games this series.
Okay.
I know it looks like the bats have come alive recently. We scored 8 against the Cardinals, 6 yesterday against the
last
Angels. Night. I don't know if this is...
Listen,
Please.
There is reason for optimism. Shohei Ohtani regularly throws over 100 miles an hour. Jordan Hicks with St. Louis regularly throws over 100 miles an hour. And a perceived weakness of this Toronto Blue Jays team is that they have trouble with the high-end velo. And they most certainly did not with Hicks and Ohtani. And I mean, going into Anaheim, the Angels obviously project as, if nothing else, a wild card team this year. So they're going to be right in the thick of things with Toronto. And so anytime you can take a win, that's good news. It's Manoah Day today. He's been not just one of the best pitchers on this Toronto Blue Jays rotation, but one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic, in all honesty. You know, like they talked about how difficult it would be for the Blue Jays to catch up to this velo. Started the game off with a Springer home run. Vladdy went deep. Danny Jansen went deep. The long balls are happening again. And again, we've talked about how this Blue Jays team is built around the home run. And they weren't getting it. In all of May, they were not getting home runs. So it's nice to see the bats starting to put some distance on that ball. I know Vladdy, even after his 15-game hit streak, we all felt like he wasn't really performing to where he should be performing. He definitely wasn't hitting the long ball. Feels like Vladdy's coming together. I'm with you, though. There's reasons to be like, this is 2 games. But 2 games become 4 games. Hot streaks start this way, right?
I mean, yes, I really hope that that's the case. We did have a...
Hi, this is Jordan Garson.
Sorry, we've got... just want to check. We had a community post to see what everybody thought of how many wins will the Jays get against the Angels this week. Our options was 0 wins, 1 win, 2 wins, or 3+ wins. 44% figured we'd split the series and get 2 wins.
Okay.
I mean, we only got to go 1 and 2 the rest of the way, so maybe that's a possibility. I don't know. If we can get 2 wins from this Angels team, I'm gonna feel like a freaking bandit taking 2 wins out of this series. So I'm hopeful that's I don't know, Scott. I'm trying to be optimistic here, but I'm also trying to like temper my expectations on this because I've just had my heart broken before.
I'm a little bit more optimistic. I really thought that they looked good last night. You look at the pitching matchups. It's Manoah versus Chase Silseth. Manoah for sure has the edge in today's game.
That's
he,
true.
again, has been phenomenal. We've got Yusei Kikuchi going against Michael Lorenzen on Saturday, and then Barrios closing out the series on Sunday. I think the pitching lines up well. I think we can take 2 of the next 3, which would be just huge.
Wow.
So,
3
I mean,
wins.
let's break down where we're at, dude, right? We're 24-20.
Yep.
They took 2 out of 3 against the M's. I know the Mariners have been bad, but that's a series win. They took 2 out of 3 against the Reds. Again, I know the Reds are god-awful, but that's a series win. They split the series against the Cards and even looked good doing it. They won this first game in Anaheim. If we can squeeze out 1, we've gone 8-7 over this last 15-game stretch. And, buddy, the schedule is softening substantially.
Well, on the other side of this, we've got the Chicago White Sox, who are 500 right now, and they're going to be probably battling us for that final wild card spot unless we can make a push for the division. So that's a big series against the White Sox. I mean, it's early, but is May 27th too early to say playoff implications? Probably. But it still feels like a big series.
And it is.
The White Sox...
Especially with them struggling as well, right? They've kind of struggled offensively as well. And so this is kind of both ships trying to right themselves. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, on the other side of that, we've got the Twins. So that's going to be a tough one.
They're a good team. They're very good
They're good this year.
Yeah.
The Royals, the Tigers, and the Orioles.
So that's 9 games there against the Royals, Tigers, and Orioles that you really want to see this team.
Actually,
at least.
It's 10 games because it's a 4-game set against the Orioles.
Amazing.
So
out of 10 games, you really want to see 7 wins there. You want to see them playing 700 baseball against those bottom-feeding teams. Yeah. And even going in against Minnesota and Chicago, despite them being fairly good teams in that AL Central, the Central is a much softer division. So even though you look at that Twins record and it looks beefy, it's definitely not the same as what the Jays and the Yankees and the Rays are going through currently. I'm not as worried about the Twins and the White Sox. Don't get me wrong, they're good teams, and this team needs to get it done. But I feel like they can. It's been optimistic, man, watching these bats sort of come to life. Again, I'm well aware that it's only 2 games. I know that's a small sample size, but we also are aware that this team can hit like this. This team absolutely can put up 6 to 8 runs a game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like I'm really I feel bad that I'm not even excited about this, but I don't know. I feel like this has got to be great listening for everybody who's tuning in. Ah, man, every time I'm like trying to temper my expectations, things turn out good though, I guess. Like
Yes.
I wasn't
So
expecting much
keep
from
tempering
Ryu
them.
when he came back.
Yeah.
That's turned out great. He's had 3 pretty awesome starts since he's been back.
Let's
Kikuchi,
talk Ryu. Let's look at his numbers.
sure. Okay, well let's look Hyun-Jin Ryu here. So since coming back from injury, he's played the Tampa Bay Rays, the Cincinnati Reds, and the LA Angels. He's got an ERA of 1.72 at this point and a WHIP of around 1.3.
He allows some hits, but he seems to get out of it when you need to. I mean, there were some long balls hit right to the warning track yesterday with him.
There was for both teams.
But you know what, man? If that is our number 5 starter, Hyun-Jin Ryu, who goes out there with a 1 point whatever ERA, and obviously this isn't going to stay this way, but truly, if Ryu can kind of sit in that 3.5 ERA zone, I'm thrilled with that.
You know what I'm happy to see? I'm happy to see that the walks are down. He hasn't been getting many strikeouts since he's been back, but he only has 2 walks in 3 starts.
Massive.
Thrilled with that. 7 strikeouts is I could do a little bit better, but he's not really a strikeout guy anyways. So as long as we can stop giving away free bases from Ryu, I think that's a very encouraging sign.
That was a big one I was going to mention too. Is his control has looked so good. He's hitting the corners with that big curveball. His changeup is catching the bottom of the zone now instead of dipping just under it. You know, like the things that he was struggling with at the beginning of the year are not apparent right now. And with the team putting up runs behind him, you can't ask for more. I mean, we were really worried about Ryu at the beginning of the year. He looked so off, especially after such a rough final, 2 months of the season last year, right? I mean, the truth is, if the Jays were 1 game away from the playoffs, but if they made the playoffs, I don't think Ryu was on that on the playoff roster, right? And this is their de facto ace at the time, so it's good to see him pull it together here. So today's game is on Apple TV. It's not on Sportsnet. I know that there is some upset fans about this in Toronto, right? If you don't have a subscription to Apple TV, then you're not going to catch the game. How do you feel about this whole Apple TV stuff? I mean, it seems like it's fine for baseball, right? It's what got them to come back after locking everyone out.
Right? Yeah. I don't know. I don't really know. I haven't put too much thought into, like, I think competition is good in general. So when it comes to any sort of a marketplace, having more people or more companies, more businesses that want to compete for broadcasting rights, I think ultimately it is good for the fans and the viewing experience. To have just ESPN and just Fox and just Sportsnet or whatever the big dogs are who are broadcasting games. I know there's been a lot of complaints with Apple and the broadcasts that they have been doing.
I've heard that too, yeah.
I haven't tuned into one. I'm going to have to figure out an Apple TV subscription or free trial
mine,
or
buddy.
whatever for today, right? I'll definitely check this one out, obviously, as it's a Jays game. I'm curious to see what all the complaints are about, but I think long term it's good. I think you want that drives innovation, right? Like you need people bringing I don't know. Generally, it's
No,
good. I think it is good.
that's a really good point, Adam, is that it drives innovation. And that is one thing that baseball lacks all the time is innovation. The old boys club sits back and says things like baseball's fine, it's perfect, we don't need to change anything. And that's not the case. You watch the NBA shift and mold and kind of grow their audience with a younger crowd. You watch hockey do the same thing. There's no reason baseball can't be right there with these other sports, right?
Well, look, we've talked, I mean, ad nauseum about the MLB and their All-Star Weekend format, right? And how it would be nice to see like a skills competition, like we see in
Sure.
the other leagues, right? Having Apple come to the table that's the sort of thing that is going to drive that sort of stuff forward, right? Where
Exactly.
new voices in the room, new opinions, new people saying, "Hey, why aren't we doing something like this?" Or like
Yes.
there's got to be a competition, and it's good. As much as we want to
Obviously,
shit on Apple's broadcast at this point, they'll figure it
yes.
out. It'll be fine, and I do think it's good long term.
And obviously, it upsets all people whenever you put a product that you're already paying for behind a paywall. And that's obviously where
Yes,
people are upset, right?
exactly.
Everyone who has bucked up for the Sportsnet Now app or is just paying for cable in general has a good argument to say,
What do
what
you
the
mean? I
fuck?
only get 161 Blue Jays games this year.
Yeah, 161. Okay, let's move on from there. Cavin Biggio has been in Buffalo since coming back from the COVID IL, and he made his triumphant return to the Toronto Blue Jays last night. Of course, the Blue Jays facing Shohei, a lefty.
Want the extra left hand?
The big righty, but you want Biggio, the lefty, in the lineup, right?
Yep.
And I mean, his bat looked as we remember it. He did get a walk, and I mean, he was killing it in Buffalo, right? He had a on base percentage of 450. He seemed to really find that plate discipline that he's been so highly touted for, and that so many Blue Jays fans remember about the way he would play the game and the at bats he would take. We didn't see that last night. He did take a walk. He did get a strikeout. But, buddy, his glove, he made some phenomenal plays in the field last night. That play in the sixth, the double play he turned, where he caught the hot rocket there at first, hit first base, and then got the guy at second there with the tag. I mean, that was just heads-up baseball.
Yeah, he's good, sound defensive guy. I don't know what to say about Cavin Biggio. I'm still not sold on him. I mean, I
I'm
want to
not
be.
sold.
Man, do I ever want to be. Like, I want to see Cavin Biggio succeed at baseball, even if it's not with the Blue Jays.
Yes.
I don't know, man.
Well, we won't spend too much time
Okay,
on Cavin
thank you.
Biggio because we have spent a lot of time on him over the last year and a half of doing this thing. But
Hey, look, we'll save the Cavin Biggio talk for long toss, and we'll ask Jen her thoughts on it.
what I will say though is that anybody who's taking the bat out of Bradley Zimmer's hand, I am all for. And if that is what Cavin Biggio does more of, is we see less of Tapia and Zimmer, I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Until I'm not. Right? Like if Biggio comes back and continues to hit then I'm fine. But you know what? If he's our Max Muncy, I don't know how many of you are following Muncy in LA, but for those of you who aren't, I think he has a batting average of like 170, but an on-base percentage of 360. So if that's Cavin Biggio, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. The only thing I know of Max Muncy from this year is that hilarious call of the strike, right over the
Right
plate,
down the
right
middle.
at belt level, and he just looks
Yeah.
at the ump and is like, "What? That was not a strike." And you even hear the commentators being like, "The fact that he's questioning that is concerning."
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Okay, so we will move on. We don't want to spend too much time on Cavin here, but he is back and in a Blue Jays uniform. I'm really curious to talk to you about the high leverage arms at the back end of this bullpen, buddy, because I don't know where I'm at on them
Okay.
exactly. So I want to hear your opinion on them. What I figured we'd do is I will give you the names and you kind of give me a rating between 1 and 10 as to how comfortable you are seeing these guys come out of the pen in a high leverage situation.
Okay. Let's go.
So let's start with Jordan Romano, our closer, the guy they're bringing in every high leverage situation. Where are you at on Jordan Romano?
Are there base runners on?
See, this is a very good point. Uh, we'll say every one of these guys is coming in a clean inning, but then we
Okay.
can talk about that after.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. Clean inning. Um, 10 being
You have no doubt.
yeah, Gagne when he was on his
Yes.
streak, right? Um, I would say like an 8.
Okay. I
I
feel
don't know.
about the same.
I still worry
I
about the
even
long ball with him. Like he throws hard, the ball gets hit hard. I don't know. It's
There's been a few things I've noticed in Romano the last few outings that concern me a little bit.
okay.
Like last night, I don't think I saw him throw over 95. That's concerning.
Yeah.
At the beginning of
Yeah.
the season, he was hitting 98, 99 regularly. Last year, he was touching 100, and I just haven't seen that out of him in May. Um, I might even say I'm a 7 out of 10 for Romano lately. Like,
Isn't that
he
crazy to say about a guy who is right at the top of
14 out of
saves?
16.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like Jordan Romano is great for the Jays right now, but I would sure love to see another high leverage arm as an
Added.
option,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't even mean somebody who's going to take over for Romano. I just mean another righty with gas that Charlie can go to in a situation that maybe doesn't fit Romano's skill set, like a guy on first base all of a sudden. Because as soon as Romano's pitching out of the stretch, for whatever reason,
Different guy.
he struggles. Yeah, different guy.
Oh man. Yeah. Look, I hope I'm wrong by even asking this question, but like I don't have confidence in him as a like World Series closer.
I
Like
feel the same way, man.
as
I feel the
a
same way.
and we are both big Jordan
Oh,
Romano
love
fans.
Romano.
Love the
Love
Markham
Jordan Romano.
Madman.
Yes.
But like, yeah, game 6 or game 7 World Series against the Dodgers, and it's like, you know,
Like, picture this.
Freddie
Picture this.
Freeman's up to bat, and it's runner on
Yes.
first, and we're up by 1 run in the ninth.
3-2,
fucking
ninth
pretty
inning.
nervous.
Runner on first. Nobody out. Freddie Freeman comes up to the plate. Do you want Jordan Romano in that battle? I don't know.
I mean, okay, but also, I mean, I was just thinking about it. Like, yeah, I'm nervous in that situation with Romano on the mound, but like,
But
I
we'd be
also
nervous
can't
with
think of
anybody.
anybody else who I'm like, oh, we got this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Garcia's out there, we're good. Like, it's
So I love Romano. I think he's our guy. I think we just need another guy like him. That's an option out of the pen. Okay, I know he's injured. Tim Mesa. How you feel about Tim?
that's like a 1A and a 1B with Romano.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right around the same. If
About an 8
yeah,
also.
yeah, maybe more. I don't
Maybe
know.
more. I was going to say I might even be more comfortable with Tim.
I'm less
Just
I'm less worried about Mesa giving up the long ball, and I don't know if the stats
Mm.
would back me up on that, but just my gut feels
Mm-hmm.
like Mesa's pretty rock solid.
So you know a guy who has been a really great high leverage reliever for us that hasn't gotten probably the love that he deserves, not since last year anyways. Adam Simber has really stepped up since Mesa went down and has been facing he's been facing a lot of the guys that Mesa would face as a lefty. So Simber's splits with righty lefties is very good. He seems to do well in that 8th inning, and that's what we watched him do yesterday. 1 to 10, where are you on Adam Simber coming into the game?
Look, as a ninth inning closer, probably like a 7, but as a guy to get the hold, probably like a 9 or a 10.
Right. Okay.
I don't know.
And
It's
I
weird
kind of
how
feel
situationally it's a little bit
well,
different.
the
But
higher leverage the situation, the less likely I am to be like, yes, let's get Adam Simber in there, right?
yeah,
But
but
if it's
like
to
if Manoah goes 7 strong and we got the top of the
yeah,
order coming up, I'm like, yeah, awesome. I love seeing Simber come out. I'm like, he's gonna
of
go 3 up,
course,
3 down, and then we just got to worry about.
the ninth.
Anyways, yeah.
Okay, now we're getting a little uglier here. Jimmy Garcia, what is your level of confidence
Ooh.
in Mr.
It is
Garcia?
not high.
Right?
It is maybe 4 feels like I'm being petty
Yes.
or like taking a shot. So I'll go like
My,
5.
my first thought was 5. That's
Yeah.
the level of confidence I have.
I mean, let's just say this: it's a coin toss. It's 50-50. He's gonna come out and be solid, or he's gonna. I
Or
don't know.
he'll struggle.
I,
I mean,
I
one good
don't
thing
have
about
confidence in
Garcia,
him.
one good thing about Garcia that we don't have a lot of in this bullpen is he's like one of the dudes who can go 2 innings. He's one of the guys who you can see him get 6 out, which is valuable if he's on. Otherwise, I don't want to see him facing 6 batters, right? So
No, I don't know. Maybe it's confirmation bias, but I I can remember a lot more times where he's blown up than where he's just come out and done the job and got it done. I don't know. We don't put him out there in too many high leverage situations, though, it feels like.
not anymore. So I think it's pretty obvious that this bullpen is going to be bolstered, right?
Yeah,
That's going to be
it's
one of
gonna
the
need to be.
major addressed at
Yeah.
the trade deadline.
It's one of those things where, like, we're going to trade away Kirk or somebody and
Yep.
somebody, and we're going to get, like, I don't know, maybe we do get a starter, maybe we don't, but a bullpen piece is going to be, like, an inclusion.
I
don't know.
would think we get 2 or 3 bullpen pieces even
Yeah.
is my guess. I know Scott Barlow out of Kansas City is an interesting option if you wanted to kind of do what the Blue Jays did last year and jump ahead of the trade deadline, make a move in June type of thing because the Royals are substantially below what they wanted to be. I think they're going to be a team that is prepared to move some guys earlier on, maybe a Scott Barlow, Andrew Benintendi trade, bolster both that lefty bat and the outfield, move Tapia down the food chain a bit.
Do you feel the urgency to upgrade this bullpen the way we did last year? Like, do you
No.
feel like we should jump ahead of the queue and get
No.
out after it? No, I don't think so.
I mean, listen, the bullpen is an average bullpen right now. I think they rank 19th in Major League Baseball, but if you look at the bullpens from 10 to 20, I mean,
Right.
it's minute, the difference, right? Like, really, this Blue
One
Jays
good
bullpen
game
at
and you
19.
jump up 4 spots.
Exactly. So I think it's fine as is until the trade deadline. Obviously, this Blue Jays organization's goals are a World Series, and this probably is not a World Series bullpen as we look at it currently.
Yeah.
Did you have anything to add when it comes to the Jays bullpen right now?
No, that's about it.
Okay, then let's move on and talk about the Matt Chapman trade a little bit. Listen, the bats are heating up for the Blue Jays currently. Lourdes and Chappie stay cold. I know, friend of the show and a long toss Iron Man, hey, commie of TikTok, Joel, to those walk-off viewers out there, he pointed this out. But Kevin Smith, one of the pieces in the Matt Chapman trade, currently has a higher wins above replacement than Matt Chapman. So I figured we'd revisit this trade and see what is what, right? Now,
Yep.
Joel loves to take numbers and work himself up into a complete panic. It is one of his
does.
favorite things to do. We watched him do it with Kevin Gausman. He had convinced himself that the Jays had made a huge mistake letting Ray walk and that Gausman's numbers from the end of last season were far more likely to be the real Gausman. Of course, that has not been the case. He has since admitted that these were unfounded worries. But he's a numbers guy. And yeah, you take a sample size like this 6-week sample size of Matt Chapman, and it's pretty easy to work yourself into a little bit of a panic. So sample size does matter.
Okay.
And Joel argued a little bit that 6 weeks is a big enough sample size and that it is 1/8 of Matt Chapman's tenure with the Blue Jays, which is true. I still don't think we should panic. I think that the peripheral analytics of his hard hit rate, barrel rate, all of that stuff does show that he's been a little unlucky and is probably going to become that. We talked about this with Arden Zwelling, right?
Yep.
Where I asked him, is Chapman going to be fine? And Arden was like, well, define fine. And I was like, 25 to 30 home runs, a batting average of 220. And he's like, oh, yeah, he should do that. So let's look at where these numbers are right now. Let's start with former Blue Jay Cavin Smith.
Okay. So Cavin Smith right now is, of course, now it's been so long since I've had this window open, it needs to refresh because apparently Cavin Smith played this morning. Thanks, Fangraphs. Okay, so Cavin Smith has a batting average of 214 with 2 home runs and 13 RBIs.
What's his on-base percentage looking like?
Just 237. Doesn't walk a lot.
Okay.
Walk rate of 3.5%, and a strikeout rate of 27%. Matt Chapman, on the other hand, about the same strikeout rate, 26.5%, but the walk rate is 3 times higher, so 10.5%.
Yep.
6 home runs. Batting average of just 187, but the on-base percentage is 276. So 276 on base for Matt Chapman compared to 237 on base for Cavin Smith.
And Cavin Smith wins above replacement is 0.7, correct?
Cavin Smith wins above replacement as of today is 0.5.
Right.
And
Chapman's
is 0.6.
Okay, so Chapman's slightly above Cavin Smith. They're fairly comparable numbers-wise, although Chapman has the areas you want more production out of. Chapman has done that, walks and home runs. And again, I really do think that Matt Chapman is a far superior third baseman to Cavin Smith at this point in their careers anyways. Mm-hmm. But it is interesting to see that Cavin Smith is performing admirably in Oakland. He's doing the job. He's been serviceable. I want to touch on Zach Logue, if he's back up there.
Yep. So Zach Logue, obviously one of the other pieces in that trade. His stat line for this year looks like 22 innings pitched. He's got 2 wins at this point. Sorry, this is just a weird view now on this page, of course, as I'm in the spotlight. Okay, so Zach Logue has an ERA of 4.4 and a... What the fuck? Man, I'm sorry.
No, that's all good. And Kirby Snead, we can even just move on. Kirby Snead is also still pitching in the bullpen for Oakland, correct?
Yes, he is.
So that is not too bad. I mean, this is the sort of trade that Oakland loves. They get 3 major league players that are currently in their roster for a guy that was struggling.
Yeah. I don't know. Forgive me on these stats.
Oh, good, man. Today. I just wanted to point the attention to the fact that, like everyone in Blue Jays land was very quick to say how the Jays won this trade. Mm-hmm. But I did want to say that there was a reason that Oakland made this trade, to have 3 of the 4 prospects already on your roster getting time. Like Zach Logue's being strutted out there every 5 days as a starter. Kirby Snead is one of their high-end left-handed relievers in that Oakland bullpen. And Cavin Smith is the guy they're trotting out at third base every single day. And there's value in that.
Yeah, there is.
And I mean, the real shining star of that trade was Gunnar Hoagland, who is still coming back from his Tommy John surgery. So it's interesting to see how Oakland can make a trade that at first seems like they were completely ripped off into a serviceable trade. And I think we've talked about this before, Adam. We wish all of those guys all the best.
Of course.
Right? Like, yeah. Anything to add, Toronto Blue Jays wise, before we wrap this thing up?
Well, you wanted to look at home runs by catchers, right? And that's
right.
Toronto Blue Jay related.
Yes. So Danny Jansen hit his 6th home run of the year last night in the 9th inning. He has changed his approach at the plate, deciding that he is just going to be a pull hitter. He's going to ignore all of the amateur hitting coaches who tell them to hit the ball all over the park, and he's just going to do what he does best, which is pull the ball. And it has been working for him. So I thought it would be interesting to see who's leading catchers in Major League Baseball in home runs, where Danny stacks up, and on top of that, how many games Danny has played in comparison.
Right. So Danny Jansen is tied for 2nd in home runs by a catcher this year across the entire MLB. He's tied with Mitch Garver and Wilson Contreras at 6 home runs. Each of those guys have played around 30 games. Danny Jansen has played 12.
Wow.
So a third as many games.
He's feeling it.
The league leader in home runs with 7, so 1 extra home run, is William Contreras with Atlanta. But he's only played 14 games.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
It's been so good to see Danny pull it together offensively.
Great.
I mean,
it's awesome.
he just worked so hard on his defensive end of the game, and to watch him struggle so mightily, especially last year, man. Like that April, and you and I are not hot take guys normally, but both of us were like, enough with the Danny Jansen experiment, and thank goodness we're not the ones running this club. Yeah. Okay. I want to talk the craziness in Anaheim before we wrap this thing up.
Sure.
Have you heard a little bit of the stadium? Have you heard a little bit of what's going on there?
All I know, and you can give me the full education on this, but all I know is that they are seeking a new stadium for the LA Angels. They were very close to having a deal in place.
The 1 yard line, if you will.
The 1 yard line. We're mixing metaphors here with our baseball and our football. But then someone kicked it in and it didn't count.
Right.
So what happened? Who kicked it in? Why did the FBI get involved?
So this is what gets wild, right? Is like all of a sudden you start to hear, oh, the FBI was involved, and there's crime, corruption going on in this stadium. So basically, the ownership in Anaheim is looking to create a entertainment development around the stadium.
Right.
That would include condos. It would include businesses, restaurants.
That seems to be the new way things are going, right?
The new wave of baseball is to create a whole area based around the entertainment for the day there.
Right.
A district, if you will, absolutely. And so that was what was looking like was going to be pushed through in Anaheim. And they were very, very, very close. Like, they were literally about to sign on the dotted line. And then all of a sudden an FBI agent comes out and halts the deal, saying that the mayor of Anaheim was having his wheels greased and that there may be $1 million payoff in him pushing through this deal. Jeez. And they kiboshed the deal, and to a point where it looks like this is not going to happen anymore.
Wow.
So they need to start over from scratch. Like, we're all aware of the Oakland and Tampa Bay arena stadium kerfuffles that has gone on over the last, well, let's be serious, probably decade plus for both markets. Right. And to watch, because really Anaheim's probably the third largest market in all of baseball. Like, they are a heavyweight Goliath type of market, and their payroll shows it. And it's really interesting to see all of a sudden they're talking about, will they move the team? Like, they're even talking about Long Island, or it's going to be really interesting to see how this whole thing unfolds. But as of right now, a deal that was pretty much done is no longer done. And not only is it no longer done, it's dead in the water. So be curious to see how things play out because let me tell you, man, I mean, this Angels team has value.
Mm-hmm.
Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, two of the best in all of baseball. Crazy to see that there's a stadium question mark around such a massive market.
Yeah, wild to see. But I mean, corruption, it happens at every
Yep,
level, right? So,
sure does.
all right, man, we're
All
at the
right, my
45
man.
minute mark. You want to wrap it up?
Let's call this a show. Thank you to everybody who has watched and hit subscribe and hit the like button. This little walk-off community that we are all a part of is turned into like the best part of my days and weeks and stuff like that. So thanks to all of you who follow along, everybody who comments and reaches out. It is greatly appreciated. Of course, we run our mailbag every single Tuesday afternoon. If you want to be involved, if you would like to have your comment read, feel free to DM us on Twitter. It's at Walk Off Podcast. You can do the same thing on Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. Drop your comments in the YouTube comment section.